Welcome back, everyone. Let's see what our guests for the night have to say. Fox News contributor and president of Independent Women's Voice, Tammy Bruce. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz and Fox News contributor Lisa Booth. Congressman, you're on the Judiciary Committee, which, if this was being done properly, that's where this would all be handled right now.
Well, the Russians...
What's your... whatever you want to talk about. There's so much here. You tell me what your take is, where we stand tonight.
I feel like the country has impeachment whiplash. It was just a few months ago that these very same people were saying that Donald Trump was a Russian agent, and then he had to be removed for exercising Article 2 power, and now it is like the Ukraine straight to DVD bad sequel to the Russia hoax that they're currently prosecuting. Why are we here? I think it is truly that Adam Schiff, his allies in the fake news media, and many of the radical Democrats are humiliated that after the Russia hoax, they did not have evidence. And the investigation that really matters was getting going. That's Attorney General Barr's investigation with his team to get to the corrupt origins of this investigation. Some of those corrupt origins may have bled into the Ukraine. So this is precisely what the Attorney General said he was going to do. He was doing his job. And I think back to Chuck Schumer's comment when he said, you know what, President Trump, there are 6 ways from Sunday that the intelligence community can get you if you pick a fight with them. The president has outlasted them. He has done it for the voters, and we will not allow these corrupt Democrats to overturn an election where we beat the elitists in both parties.
Well said. That's exactly what's going on here. Tammy, you're very suspicious of the way some of this information has been dribbling out.
Well, yes, we see this, and of course, Americans don't necessarily get all the details because legacy media doesn't explain it to them. You've given them like a perfect framework about what exactly is happening here with your monologue. But when you look at like when Schiff was tweeting like on the 28th, and everyone's wondering, this sounds, once we learned about the whistleblower report, it was like the whistleblower report. How could he have known? Well, now we know there was coordination. But on that date is when the texts between certain individuals like Volker and Taylor, et cetera, started to change in tone. That it's almost as though they wanted certain things in writing to occur. But mostly, let me just say this about what the president's facing right now. And for the American people, this is why he was elected. Ironically, is that the American people realized that something was afoot that wasn't good for us, that they were looking only to themselves, that only they mattered. There was no rule of law. There was no real justice, and that we wanted someone to come in to fix that. It is almost inevitable that this would occur and that they would impeach him. And it proves how correct we were in 2016, that this, and now the big deal here is for these kinds of conversations, so that it gives us another opportunity to say, wait a minute, this isn't even about policy. It's not even about, oh, you don't like somebody or you do. It's like, this is the kind of corruption, God help us, that has been operating for decades with no pushback, and that now is the time that it must stop. Donald Trump clearly is the right man at the right time, but his team must be clear, making clear these issues about what he was doing, why this matters, why these individuals are going after him in this fashion. It's not just, I think, us as observers and critics, but the president's team must see this as an opportunity. It's a shame for the country, but it's an important process of draining the swamp.
Yeah, Lisa?
Well, I mean, I think the actual crime that President Trump committed was getting elected. I mean, if it's not the Russia investigation or what we saw with Brett Kavanaugh and now with Ukraine, I mean, the intent is to delegitimize President Trump, as Hillary Clinton was calling him illegitimate, or to harm his presidency. And that's what we've seen from the left and also the media. And, ask yourself why the media and the left are uninterested in following any storyline regarding foreign interference unless they can weaponize it against President Trump. For instance, the New York Times noted not too long ago that the dossier was likely Russian disinformation. So if we have the federal government with the FBI using Russian disinformation that was purchased by Hillary Clinton and the DNC to then obtain a FISA warrant on her political opponent, Donald Trump, and his campaign team, or at least with Carter Page, you think that would be something we would want to get to the bottom of with Russian interference.
Exactly.
But they're not interested in that.
Very succinct.
And further, in 2008, a Ukraine court noted that the head of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau was the one that behind releasing the damaging information for Paul Manafort, who broke the law. And they said, quote, it resulted in the meddling of the election process of the United States in 2016 and damaged the national interest of Ukraine. This is a Ukrainian court's statement talking about this. Why aren't we talking about that?
I know why Mueller's not
there's a
talking about
list
it.
so long of things like that. We're going to get to the Biden corruption in this.
But when we asked Mueller those exact questions that Lisa laid out, he said, "Not my purview. I'm not. I was never asked to look into these things." And so it begs the question when we can get these facts before the American people with the Attorney General. But Tammy made the fascinating point. They are done debating us on policy because the policies have worked to make lives better for the American people.
Right.
So the whole effort is to defame, delegitimize, and destroy people who champion the America First agenda. And for folks who are in the lawmaking business, it's pretty darn frustrating that we can't get that engagement.
There's another point there I just want to make about the lack of interest in the substance and the policy. And that's why I use that word decadent. Especially on the media side, they have wonderful lives in Washington. Their kids go to great schools. They live in lovely neighborhoods. They haven't any problem. Their incomes haven't stagnated for the last 20, 30 years. So they don't care about any of that. They don't care about the positive changes.
Well, this action in and of itself is a distillation of their obsession with themselves.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That is the only
and getting
thing
approval
that
from
matters.
each other.
We saw this country decline so seriously during the Obama years, and they were fine with that because their lives continued to be better.
Yes.
But even with the Joe Biden dynamic, I do think that while that needs to be investigated, it gets into the weeds. Part of this is to exhaust the average American into retreat, particularly Trump supporters. They've clearly underestimated us as they've underestimated the president. And I didn't start out as a Trump supporter. He won me over like he's won the country over. But I think in general, as we look at this, it really is an imperative, as the worst thing that we can imagine is the fact that they keep saying Trump is with the mob and it's a mafia thing. Of all organized crime, my God, they just don't want you to look back because you'll find.
We're going to have to go, Lisa, quick last.
I was going to say another aspect of the Volcker statement that you had mentioned that I think is important reiterates President Trump's concerns about corruption when he said, "I want you to do me a favor regarding corruption." As he notes, the general prosecutor at the time, Yuri Lutsenko, was out there talking about how Ukrainian officials possibly meddled in the election and that Burisma brought Hunter Biden onto the board to try to garner favor with Vice President Biden. So this is the general prosecutor of Ukraine out there saying that. So, of course, President Trump's going to see that and be concerned about corruption.
And he'll have a lot more to be concerned about because right ahead is our Swamp Watch on the Bidens and Ukraine with new information you haven't heard before. Do not